Damn, it's October. You know what that means. Scary games! I'm not one of those people who gets hyped for Halloween or some shit. I just want to go into a creepy mansion full of zombies and get chased by vicious dogs. Anyway, Resident Evil. Resident Evil is a survival horror game released in 1996. It's known today as the game that defined and popularized the survival horror genre until it killed itself 5 main entries down the line before going back to its roots with the 7th entry. Like many players, I started with Resident Evil 4 and tried to slowly move backwards. But due to the hardcore nature of the gameplay in the older games, I've been put off by it for the longest time. I decided to try the remake of the original Resident Evil a while back and found it was surprisingly more enjoyable than I thought. So what the hell, I'll go back to the classics and see how they hold up. I'll be playing the PC version with Classic Rebirth installed. It's basically a bunch of patches by the Apple of Eden that lets the game run on modern hardware with adjustable resolution, so that's nice. When you boot up the game, the loud Capcom logo video plays along with an intro. It shows a dude walking down a hallway before getting killed by what I assume to be a dog, judging from the slow camera angle. He screams and title. That was some cheese. We begin with character select. You can choose Jill for easy mode or Chris for hard mode. The difficulty you choose is tied to the character, which is kinda weird. But let's start with Jill. The intro video plays telling us what's up. The year is 1998. In Raccoon City, there are families that got murdered by a group of people. They look like they've been eaten, so the STARS, Special Tactics and Rescue Service, Bravo team went to investigate but disappeared. Upon hearing this news, the Alpha team went to investigate, but shit goes wrong. Their helicopter abandons them and they end up in a creepy mansion after being chased by zombie dogs. After that, we have a roll call. It looks so cheesy with that fire font and transition. It doesn't exactly fit the tone of the rest of the game, but I like it anyway. So we go into the mansion with only 3 members of the Alpha team, Jill, Barry, and Wesker. Chris is missing and it's up to you to find him. We go to the dining room with Barry to find blood on the floor. Oh no.
Hope this is not Chris's blood.
We then go to the next room and... Okay, time to go. We go back to the dining room, Barry takes care of the zombie, and go back to the main hall to find Wesker missing. From this point, you can explore, do what you gotta do to survive, and get out of the mansion. This certainly is a creepy game. It has a very unique look even back in the day, and it's something we don't get these days anymore. Let's get into the specifics. The graphics are good for the time. The characters of some objects are simple 3D models, while the backgrounds are pre-rendered in 3D. It's a technique they used back in the day to have detailed backgrounds for maintaining good performance. But that said, the backgrounds do stand out on modern hardware since they're pre-rendered in low resolution. It may have looked good back then, but now it's kinda... Still, it's impressive what they managed to pull off back then. The game uses fixed camera angles. Every time you move to a different area, the camera angle changes to one that best suits the player. Or not. It makes sense because the backgrounds are just JPEGs, so you can't really have a 3D camera. It also lets the devs control what the players see, and that can create some spooky moments. There are a lot of scary places too, like the sandwich room, the courtyard, the fucking tentacle floor rape room. Overall, it's creepy, man. The gameplay loop consists of exploring the mansion, finding keys and items to unlock new areas, all the while fighting various enemies. This is a survival horror game, so your character is weak, dying after only a few bites. There's a limited amount of ammo and healing items too, so using them wisely on top of using your small inventory to carry them is a huge part of the game. The game uses tank controls, which means up is move forward, back is backwards, with left and right for rotating the character. It's a good way to have consistent movement since the camera will keep changing angles as you move to different areas. It's also a way to limit the player's flexibility and make them feel weaker and more helpless by taking away control. This all sounds hard, like fully erect 12-inch BBC hard, and it is at the beginning, but like all things in life, you learn the tricks, the optimal ways to pop zombies and move your way around. It gets kinda fun exploring this creepy crib. Even though every item is limited, there is enough for you to beat the game as long as you don't waste ammo and heal as soon as you get bit. Puzzles are another big part of the game, but I don't have much to say about that because I'm monkey brained when it comes to them. They aight. On PC, saving the game as Jill only requires you to use the typewriter, but with Chris you need ink ribbons. That's right, even saving is limited. Combat is simple. Aiming automatically lock on to the nearest enemy, but you can aim wherever after that. It gets fun when you get the shotgun and grenade launcher. Put the shotgun up to a zombie's brain, boom, boom. Yeah, you sons of bitches, fuck you. Blowing their brains into pieces of polygon. It's so satisfying. It happens every time you aim up too, so there's no reason not to do it. Well, I just went south in there. It fits the type of game that devs wanted to make. Enemies are scary and hurt a lot, the controls make you feel weak but not hopeless, the limited number of items and inventory management keeps you on edge. Oh, and jump scares. They exist, and not gonna lie, I almost pissed and shat myself. Even though it's stressful at times, it's not something you can't get used to. Or maybe I'm just an elite pro gamer and too good for this game. I like jerking myself off. The story is simple. Zombies ate people in a city, a squad tries to investigate, they get fucked, another squad comes to help, and end up in a creepy mansion full of scary shit. Now they gotta survive. For most of the game, Jill will be doing puzzles, getting key items to unlock things, fighting bosses, and occasionally bumping into Barry who will help her. You'll be going through the mansion, creepy courtyard, underground lab with sharks, a bunch of places with gross things. There are notes you can find in some areas that gives context to what happened in their location, and they're interesting to read. After a while, you end up in another underground lab where you find out that Wesker wanted to destroy stars to test bioweapons. In the end, Wesker releases Tyrant, the biggest and buffest boy, to kill you while getting himself fucked up in the process. You pop him and escape. If you collect all the ammo discs and use the disc reader to get the password in them, you can unlock a certain door where Chris can be found. There are multiple endings depending on if you interacted with Barry in certain scenes and saving Chris, so that adds to the replayability a bit. Anyway, Jill goes to the roof to call Brad, their pilot, to come pick them up, while Chris and Barry fend off the remaining monsters. At the last moment, Tyrant pops up from a few floors down, ready to put your ass to sleep. After damaging him enough, Brad throws a rocket launcher down for you to blow the fuck out of Tyrant in a now iconic Resident Evil rocket blowing bitch up sequence. So the crew gets saved, the mansion blows up, Chris looks at Barry, finds out he's gay, and they fly to safety. The end. That was Jill's route. What about Chris? There are a few changes in Chris's route compared to Jill's. He has less inventory space and there are more enemies to fight, which is why he's the hard mode. Instead of Barry, Chris meets Rebecca, the only survivor from the Bravo team. Just like with Jill and Barry, Rebecca will help Chris in certain scenes, like playing the piano because his muscles and hands are slowly getting bigger, and making a chemical to help him kill the big plant thing. Aside from those changes, the game is the same. At the end, Wesker shows Chris Tyrant, he laughs at his peasant creation.
Chris? Stop it.
Kill Tyrant, rescue Jill, go to the roof while Jill and Rebecca fend up the... Kill Tyrant again, get in the chopper, looks at Rebecca, realizes he might just be bi, and flies to safety. The end. It's not the most original thing ever, but it did its job. It took players to interesting places where scary shit happens, and the notes and documents are interesting to read, especially if you're into the lore. Resident Evil was the start of something special. It put survival horror on the map and continued to thrive as one of the most popular gaming franchises of all time, and even innovating on gaming in general. The game used its gameplay and atmosphere to sell the horror instead of just jump scares and horror violence like a lot of horror games today. The music is awesome, and as bad as the voice acting is, it's probably one of the best things I've ever heard. The controls need some time to get used to, the story is nothing too special, the puzzles I can live without, and the graphics are outdated, but that's all I got to complain about. If you don't mind those problems, there's a great game here. The only real problem is you can't buy it anymore. Not on PC at least, so you gotta set sail to a certain bay to find it if you know what I'm saying. Well, since it can't be bought on PC anymore, let's take a look at the remake, which can be bought on PC. Resident Evil Remake, or REmake as fans call it, was released in 2002 and was remastered in HD in 2014 in Japan with a worldwide release in 2015. It's a faithful remake of the original with a new coat of paint and a lot of new content. The gameplay is mostly the same, explore the mansion, find items, fight monsters, inventory management, but Capcom added a lot of changes that makes the game feel familiar yet fresh. There are new areas in the mansion like the graveyard, and it's connected with the room with the big paintings now. And in the entrance room to the courtyard, there's a room that takes you to a whole new area that connects to the underground cave. There are defensive items you can pick up that can be used to get enemies off you when you get grabbed. You can quick turn now, so you don't have to spin yourself every time you want to go in the opposite direction. There are less loading screens, which is nice. The graphics, damn, it makes the game feel so much moodier. There's actual lighting now, and it affects the character models as they walk through the hallways or wherever. Dark places are actually dark instead of just dimly lit. It overall makes the game spookier. Unlike with the original, my asshole was tight for the entire game. The graphics really made a huge difference in my opinion. Narrative wise, there were some changes. The voice acting is fine now. It's way less hilarious now, and I kinda miss that, but it didn't ruin my immersion, and that's the most important thing. Cutscenes are way more cinematic instead of just 1 or 2 camera angles. They added the story of Lisa Trevor and her family, which is depressing as hell. The amount of good shit they have here is wild. There are some downgrades as well, for me at least. The music in the original I think is better, door transitions are still not skippable, and the shotgun can't do one-hit headshots anymore. But in return, everything else is better. Resident Evil Remake is considered to be one of the best remakes of all time, and it's clear why. It's faithful to the original, and it added a lot of new content to make it feel familiar yet fresh. The graphics are greatly improved along with the atmosphere. There are many quality of life changes, with new areas to explore and new story bits. This is a remake and an expansion pack at the same time. Great game, made peepee erect. Even though I'm not a big fan of this era of Resident Evil, I still had fun. If this looks interesting to you, go and pick it up. That goes for either of them. It could be your new addiction. Alright, that's the review. I've always wanted to play the older Resident Evil games, but never got a chance to go all in until now. Looking forward to playing the rest. Eventually. What's your favorite Resident Evil? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know who your RE waifus and husbandos are. Like, subscribe, and all that. See ya.